Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the budget segment for my top 5 gaming mice intended for palm claw grip. For reference, my hands are 17.5 centimeters by 9.5, so we're primarily looking at that small to medium size category. There are so many good mice out there with some really impressive specs for the price. In fact, I covered a $10 gaming mouse that has a PAW 3395 sensor in the past video. When considering my list, I'm not really prioritizing what's going to get you the most specs for the money. I'm really just looking at the mouse shapes that I think would really suit people well who have similar grip styles to me. Now before we jump into the list, I do want to cover a few honorable mentions. The Cooler Master MM712 has come down in price recently. It's a great shape and it has that large brand quality control coming from Cooler Master. For me, I think just the boot of this mouse is just slightly too off. The Royal Kludge M30 is a really interesting recent release. It's basically a Sora V2 clone at a third of the price. For my hand size, I think the M30's grip width is just a hair too wide for me, but for many people this might actually be like the ultimate budget pick. The Attack Shark X3 is loved by many. In some ways it's kind of like that budget small-handed G Pro X Superlight. It's decent for all grip styles, but I think the fact that it's too safe makes it worse than other options for niche grip styles such as the aggressive palm claw grip. If you're looking for an all-rounder, this might be the mouse to look for. Now, the VGN VXE R1 Pro falls into a similar boat. The shape feels kind of similar to a Pulsar X2 to me, kind of that higher rear-sided hump with very flat sides. It gives off that sort of safe, medium-sized claw grip mouse feel. As such, because it's that, firmly medium-sized mouse size, I think it's too big to be on my list. To boot, at least on my copy, the right click started to stick a little bit too recently. Now, something I actually don't have my hands on just yet is the G-Wolves HSK Plus, and that's also come down in price recently. This is a pure fingertip mouse, so you probably wouldn't be able to pull it off unless you play fingertip claw, but I did want to just mention that given how much the price has come down. Speaking of prices coming down, this is the Xtrfy M8, and it's a sleeper on this list. It released at about $80 MSRP, but you can get it off Amazon for like $49 now. It's kind of known for this very, very low button height, and overall the sides are very flat, reminiscent of the G Pro X Superlight as well. Again, really, really great quality coming from Xtrfy, but the shape is a little bit too safe for me, so I can't really unlock my aim potential with this mouse. A mouse that I featured recently on the channel was the glorious Model O Pro. That can also be had on the used market for very cheap. Though the mouse shape is not really intended for claw grip, I still wanted to just mention it because of the low price. In general, this mouse is more suited for fingertip grip, so it doesn't really make my full list. Lastly, the Lethal Gaming Gear LA1 and the Lamzu Atlantis series would be very strong contenders for this list, though I don't know if you can reliably find either of these for under $50. With that out of the way, let's get into the start of this list. At the number 5 spot, I actually have the Attack Shark X11. This does actually come in a few different colorways, so ignore the obnoxious red colorway if that's not your thing. In sum, this is basically a mini version of the Razer Viper V3 Pro. Somewhat safe in terms of shape, but that small size is actually very helpful. Also, to boot, it has this slightly rear-focused hump, which I think makes it very good for small-handed claw palm. Overall, I've really enjoyed my time spent on this mouse. The clicks feel very, very solid. It uses some form of optical switch. I want to say Omron Opticals, but I'm not sure if that's right. The side buttons are very light to actuate, not too much pre and post travel there. Overall, just a really solid pick. At the number 4 spot, this is actually a very interesting mouse. It had come out a few years ago. It's the Glorious Series 1 Pro. It originally released as sort of this group buy, first group buy that Glorious ever did. And since then, I guess the group buy itself didn't go all that well, considering that they're retailing these now for maybe a fifth of the price at which they were released at. I was able to get my copy for just over $20. Again, way better than that $100 price tag that they were originally charging. And in terms of shape, it's basically like a Viper mini clone. You kind of have the iconic curvature on the underside of the mouse, some front flaring, but it's really not too bad. And then the hump of the mouse is dedicated more so towards the back of it. It has this very, high profile feeling in hand, despite being a very small mouse. What I would mention is that the back of the mouse, the hump is actually very narrow. So it should hit you sort of squarely in the middle of your palm, but less so on the grip or the sides of your palm. This kind of allows the illusion for slightly better inner hand maneuverability, which I think is helpful for some. I think for my overall grip preference, I tend to like a little bit more stability when I claw palm. So in this case, this mouse shape is not my number 1 pick. But if that's the kind of thing that you're looking for, I mean, you're getting glorious level quality, which is, again, not top of the line, but pretty good for a budget mouse at a very, very reduced price. A little bit of an interesting mouse choice here for the number 3 spot, but this is the SteelSeries Prime Mini Wireless. Again, a little bit outdated in terms of overall specs. There are probably better mouse switches, sensor, and better weight on the market. It's probably the heaviest mouse on this list. It's also our only ergonomic mouse on the list as well, but I think for small-handed claw palm, it's a really, really nice, stable shape. You have this sort of, higher profile feeling hump. That's, again, lopsided. It's not exactly symmetrical, but very, very safe sides here as well. I actually feel as though this curvature on the left side of the mouse, which offers a little bit more support for the thumb, feels very good, especially in my, palm claw style grip. Really like this mouse. I actually think that I should be using this a lot more, but it's a whole lot of fun. Coming in at the number 2 spot, I have the Weadin X23 Pro. I might be butchering the name of that. In sum, it's basically a budget G-Wolf's HTS Plus. Hump is a little bit more towards the middle of the mouse, but considering that's 4 millimeters tall on a very small mouse, I think that this actually makes it feel pretty good for claw grip. There's enough character on the underside of the mouse where you have this thinning towards the grip width, and maybe a ever so slight outward front flare. Not something that's extreme enough to bother me. Overall, I really like the locked-in feeling that this mouse shape gives. I love the G-Wolf's HTS Plus. It's just a shame that it's $120. The Weadin X23 Pro, I was able to grab this for about $31 in this orange colorway. That's the only reason why I bought this orange colorway. Some of the other color options are about $40. But if you kind of want that, G-Wolf's HTS Plus shape, I think this is the best place to go. In terms of overall quality control, I mean, it feels pretty solid, especially considering the price. The one thing that I would note is that this back side button has a lot of play on it. In fact, I'm not sure if you could see this, but I can actually push the side button into the mouse shape. It does hit a wall eventually, but it's just, one quality thing that I don't think most people would want to worry about on their gaming mouse. Not a huge deal, just something worth mentioning. Lastly, my number 1 pick by far is the Ajaz AJ159. I honestly don't know why this mouse is slept on so much. I see very little coverage on YouTube around this mouse. In fact, one of the reasons why I wanted to start this channel was to call out a few additional options on the market that I think are really worth people's time that might not get the same coverage as other mice do for some reason. The AJ159 is absolutely my top choice in the budget category, and arguably it makes a running for my number 1 mouse shape of all time. It kind of gives off the true XM1 Mini feel that I think a lot of people are looking for. In some ways, it probably could be a little bit more aggressive on the sides, but I think this sort of flattened, safer nature of the sides relative to the XM1 might make it better for most people. Despite the limitations, at least for my grip style, I think this is an absolutely awesome shape. It kind of preserves that really narrow grip width that I look for in terms of good locked-in control, but also has this wider rear hump. The hump also is not, super low. It's about 38 millimeters tall. So the medium size sort of height on the rear hump alongside, the fatter width here just gives you that ultimate feeling of really good stability, especially for my hand size. So again, if you have sort of that 9.5 centimeter width to your hand, I think this is a really awesome shape that's going to give you that locked in feeling. Quality wise, right, I've had my copy for over a year at this point. I've subbed out some of the stock skates because I like the faster feeling of PTFE. But even so, right, as I squeeze in on the mouse, there's next to no noise that comes out of this thing. The clicks use Wano Blue Shell pink dots, which feel pretty solid, at least on my copy. I wouldn't say it's an inspiring feeling. It doesn't compete with your WL mouses and your Razer Viper V3 Pro clicks, but I would say these are very solid considering that they're budget mechanical switches. Scroll wheel is fine, does the job. There's very little play on the side buttons. These absolutely work as intended. So that's my list, at least as of August of 2025. Obviously a lot of things can change. I would say the lower end of the price segment for mice in general is extremely competitive. A lot of the industry is focused on this sort of race to the bottom idea. So there's a pretty good chance that this list will be pretty outdated in just a few months' time span. But if you're looking for a mouse right now, I think these are some really good options to consider. Hopefully that was helpful for everyone, but I'll see you in the next one. Peace.